Okay guys, so just one more really quick extended task for you. If you found the way that I've explained how to count things with using the count if function a bit too much before or a bit too long-winded, there is actually a much quicker way, especially when you have quite complex data sets like the one we're working with here, where we have quite a few different options in the different questions that we ask people. So within our two variables, we have quite a lot of different categories that we're looking for. And one way of arranging data and getting really instant summaries from Excel is using pivot tables. Okay, and what we have to do to get those is we have to highlight the range that we want to make a table from. Okay, so as always, highlight all of the data that you've collected. Don't miss out any of the variables. Okay, and then you just want to go into Insert and use the pivot table here. We've already input the table range. Okay, so that's this selection we've made, and we can just say where do we want the pivot table. You can either put it into a new worksheet, so it would open up another tab down here, or we can place it into the existing worksheet, and we can select where to put it essentially by clicking on this little arrow and click on the cell where you want it. So let's just place it there, and then click on this little arrow again and then click OK. And what it will then do, it will make an empty pivot table. And the way pivot table works is we can select the different variables that we want to display anything about. In this case, we want to display things about the answers for people for questions 1 and 2. And we want to place those into the rows and columns of our table, just like we did before. Okay, so here in rows, we have the answers to question 1, but we only actually looked at agree and disagree. And then in the columns, we have the answers to question 2. So we can do that exactly the same way, so I can show you how similar it will look, but how much quicker it'll be. So you just literally need to drag, and it tells you that down here, the fields, this one right here, into the different places. So we want answer 1 in the rows, and we want answer 2 in the columns. Okay, so now what it's created essentially is a table very much like the one we've got up here, but instead of only having disagree and agree up here, it's got all of the different options for answer 1. And now we just need to tell Excel what we want to do with those. And we want to count the answers to the different questions. And all we need to do for that is just to drag one of these. Okay, it doesn't in this case really matter which one. So let's just take the answers to question 2. And we just drag them into values. Now values gives us, okay, what do you want to do? And this can be all sorts of different things. In this case, because we have categorical data, the only thing we can do is count. How many times does each occur? However, if we had numerical data, we might want to do average, or we might want to do something more advanced than that. Now in this case, that's literally all we need to do. So we can just get rid of this for now, so we can see what we've got properly. And as you can see, you've got exactly the same data that you found before, but you got it in literally 2 seconds. You might see that it's ordered these different categories alphabetically for the different dietary preferences, as well as for the opinion of people for the question that we asked them about the climate crisis. You can move those around as you want. Okay, so if we wanted to have this in the order that we originally intended, where the lowest score, or if we start with 1 up here, for example, is for disagree, by just highlighting the whole cell, and then you just need to hover over the outside of it until you get this moving symbol, and you can just move it up. Okay, oops, that didn't work. So we want to have that right at the top, and then underneath we want slightly disagree. Okay, and then this one is the middle. That wants to be underneath that. This is a little bit tricky because I haven't got a mouse. I'm using my mouse pad. So that wants to go here. And then lastly, we want to move this one up. Okay, so now we've got these in the order that we wanted, and you could do the same for this and move these around the way you want to. But this was just really quickly to show you a super quick way of getting this kind of summary. And you can play around with pivot tables and Excel, especially if you are, as I expect that you are, because you've gone through both of the extended tasks, quite confident with Excel. This is a really nice way of sort of extending your knowledge a little bit. And I always say just play around with these programs. They won't explode if you click the wrong button, and just see what they do in order to get a really good feel for it. Okay, next week we're going to go into a bit more advanced functions using numerical data, so we'll do a bit more calculations, etc., and we'll learn a few more graphs as well. Until then, hopefully you get to play around with Excel in your free time a little bit. I think it's quite fun, but that's just me. And so I will see you next week in the next workshop.